Croeso ma bawb. Yr eitem gyntaf ar y rhaglen a tro yma ydy ethol cadeirydd i'r pwyllgor yma ar gyfer y flwyddyn sy'n dod. So, ydy'n bosib derbyn unrhyw enwebiadau sydd gennych chi. Dyna fo. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Mae gennau Edgar wedi rhoi y law i fyny.
Cynnig gael ethol Elwyn Edwards.
Elwyn Edwards, iawn.
Nogi.
Eilydd felly gan Anwen, oes unrhyw enwebiad arall? Iawn, wel yn y modd arferol felly, gai jyst ddangos os y pawb yn clicio'r botwm gwyrdd i gadarnhau bod nhw'n cytuno fo dewis. A mae o wedi i gario. Diolch yn iawn i chi. Felly, Elwyn, croeso i'r gadar.
Iawn, diolch yn iawn. Diolch i bawb o'ch chi am yr anrhydedd. Unwaith eto, mi drio i wneud cyfiawnder a chi gyd. Os gwelwch chi bod fi'n methu, rhowch gic i mi de. Iawn, awn ymlaen i'r ail eitem. Is-gadeirydd. Oes yna enw ar gyfer yr is-gadeirydd, os gwelwch chi dda, rwy'n y cynnig o beth. Owain, raw i fyny.
Cynnig cynghorydd Ifor Lloyd.
Eilio.
Gai ofyn i bawb dynnu'r llaw werdd i ffwrdd, os gwelwch chi dda. Iawn, mae'n gynigydd ag eilydd. Oes yna enw arall? Ifor Lloyd, oes yna enw arall? Iawn, does o ddim, felly pawb sydd o blaid Ifor y Glyn, gan neud Ifor Lloyd. Newch chi bwyso'r llaw werdd, os gwelwch chi dda, os ydych chi'n erbyn llaw goch.
Wedi gario.
Ni, diolch yn iawn. Neith pawb dynnu law ar y ddod, os gwelwch chi dda. Diolch yn fawr. Ymddiheuriadau am absenoldeb a datganiadau i'r cadeirydd. Anwen.
Dwi wedi derbyn ymddiheuriadau gan y cynghorydd Freya Bentham, Elfed Roberts, Gethin Williams a Mr Neil Martinson.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr.
A hefyd, sori, dwi wedi derbyn ymddiheuriadau gan y pennaeth cynllunio John Cawley.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Os gan diddordeb rhywun? Nag oes. Cofnodion? Sori.
A John Pugh?
John Pugh.
Dat gan diddordeb?
O, yndi.
Ydy John yn clywed ni fa yma? Ydy o'n cael trafferthion? Mi nath John ddatgan ar yr
tro blaen yn dod.
Sydd yna ar tro blaen, felly dwi'n cymryd bod o'n mynd i ddatgan yr un diddordeb.
Oedden ni wedi colli cysylltiad efo chi am eiliad yn dod yn datganiadau ar yr un un tro.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Cofnodion, sy'n rwy'n cynnig bod yn gywir?
Cynnig, Mr Cadeirydd.
Alwyn y cynnig, sy'n rwy'n eilio. Edgar yn eilio. Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Tim yn eilio ddweud yndi? Rwy'n yn codi ohonyn nhw.
Mae Anwen yn codi llaw.
O dan cyhoeddiadau'r cadeirydd, Elwyn, mae gennym ni aelod newydd wedi ymuno ni heddiw. Mae eisiau gwneud hwnnw, mae eisiau croesawu aelod newydd.
Ydy hi yma?
Ydy.
O reit, oce, diolch yn fawr. Sarah Hatol, ie?
Ie.
Na, wel hi rwan, na tris i di. Reit, dwi'n methu gweld di.
Sorry, o'n i'n ar mute. Dwi'n yma. Diolch yn fawr iawn am y croeso gynnes. Dwi'n hapus i bod yma. Diolch pawb.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr iawn chi, croeso. Gobeithio byddwch chi'n hapus yn ymwneud ni. Diolch yn fawr iawn i chi. Iawn, penodi aelodau i wasanaethu'r paneli ymweld.
O'na un cywiriad, meddwl, i gynnig ar yr
Penodion.
Sef ar y dudalen gyntaf, datgan buddiant. Eitem rhif 2 o hynna. Mae'n dweud datganodd cynghorydd John Pugh Roberts ddiddordeb personol. Oedd o'n ddiddordeb personol ag un sy'n rhagfarnu hefyd, felly mae eisiau cynnwys y geiriad yna yn yr eitem rhif 2.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Reit, o'n i mlaen ar y rhaglen, penodi aelodau i wasanaethu'r panel ymweld.
Chi'n cymryd materion yn codi?
Ie, hynna rwan.
Ydych chi'n cymryd materion yn codi ar y cofnodion?
Wel, ydyn, os ydych chi isio. Doedd na ddim, ond...
Oes, mae gen i ar dop tudalen 2, sef yr eitem o dan eitem 3. Y busnes o darlledu recordiad o'r Pwyllgor Cynllunio. Dwi'n dall bod Brian a fi'na wedi codi'r mater efo'r cyfarwyddwr cynllunio a dall bod o ar gael o'n bellach ar yr tudalen yr rhaglenni Pwyllgor Cynllunio. Dwi'n meddwl tegwch i bobl o'r tu allan, dyla bod ni'n gosod targed bod yr darlliad yna yn cael ei roi i fyny o be fyswn ni'n awgrymu o fewn 5 diwrnod, ond sicr cyn gyntaf y phosib. Dwi'n gwybod y brofiad fel asiant, lle mae'n gallu bod yn eitha rhwystredig os nad ydy'r darllediad yna'n ymddangos mewn da bryd. Diolch.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr, Owain. Llaw Edgar i fyny, jyst i siarad.
Nag oes, cynnig bod nhw'n gywir yn ni. Sori, ddim wedi tynnu llaw lawr ni.
Reit, oce. Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Swn i'n ymlaen efo'r rhaglen felly, ia? Penodi aelodau i wasanaethu'r panel ymweld. Sorry, John?
Ie, ga i gynnig fod ni'n cadw i'r fath rhai sydd yn gosau i'r de, mynd i'r de, ac rhai gosau'r gogledd, mynd i'r gogledd.
Wy'n eilio John o fanna? Brian?
Na eilio hynny, Owen, Ifor.
O, Ifor fewn, croeso Ifor.
Aia, iawn.
Wyt ti well gyda llaw?
Ynddo, altro bob dydd. Altro bob dydd, iawn.
Iawn, gwych. Reit, mae'n gynnig ag eilydd, bod i pawb o cadw'r ei fath. Ewch chi...
Dwy swydd o wag, Mr Cadeirydd.
Eto, Brys?
Mae yna ddwy swydd o wag.
Oes. Ond mae John wedi cynnig bod pawb yn aros i fath, a wedyn yn lenwi swyddi gwag wedyn, ydw ni? Dyna'n iawn?
Be dwi wedi cynnig ydy rhai sy'n gosau i'r de, a mynd i'r de, rhai sy'n gosau'r gogledd, i'r gogledd, a wedyn mae fyny i'r swyddogion i weld pwy di gosa.
Oce.
Na eilio hynny.
Mae Anwen eisiau dod i mewn. Dwi'n gweld ti'n chwifio dwylo yma. Ti ar miwt, Anwen.
Iawn. Mr Tim Jones a Mrs Sarah Hattle di'r ddau aelod sydd eisiau llenwi'r vacancies. So, di'n neud synwyr i Sarah fod yn y de. Di'n neud synwyr i Mr Tim Jones fod yn y de hefyd, tas eisiau swopio.
Dwi'n hollol hapus yn y de yn yr gogledd, mae'r ddau yn union y fath i fi, a os y lle yn y de, dwi'n hapus iawn mynd i'r de.
Diolch.
Iawn. Be di'r ffordd ymlaen rwan ta?
Wel, mae'n edrych yn debyg i mi felly bod os i pawb yn hapus aros lle maen nhw, bod nhw'n aros lle maen nhw, a wedyn bod yr ddau aelod newydd yn slotio mewn i'r ardal deheuol.
Oce, cyn gwneud hynna rwan, mae llaw Brian i fyny, mae llaw Jane i fyny hefyd. Brian?
Yes, Chairman. The English translation is coming and going and is very patchy. It's very, very difficult to follow the thread of the meeting.
Can I just mention something, please? Yeah, the translation is really very patchy, and I've hardly been able to actually sort of understand what's been going on sort of for the last 5 minutes or so. And I can't actually, I've been trying to raise my hand, but it doesn't seem to be working at all.
Iwan, di werth gohirio chydig bach I gael hwn I weithio'n iawn?
Mae yna ddau gyfieithydd oes, felly ydy'n bosib switcho i'r cyfieithydd arall am y tro, a wedyn cael gweld os ydy hynna'n neud gwahaniaeth, a gawn ni law I fyny gan Bob sy'n derbyn cyfieithu, wedyn ni weld os ydy'n neud gwahaniaeth, wedyn yn y cyfamser nawn ni drio sortio peth allan efo'r cyfieithydd sydd yn gyfredol wan.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr, o'n i drio'r cyfieithydd arall y lleia. Ydy'r cyfieithydd arall yn weithredol ar hyn o bryd?
Dwi'n check y gafel yn I rwan, da I ddeth.
Oce.
Elwyn?
Ia.
Fysa chi'n gallu gadael I cynghorydd Ifor Lloyd wybod bod wedi cael ei ethol yn is-gadeirydd oedd o ddim I fewn ar y pryd?
Mae'n debyg bod o'n gwybod o'n ti'n newydd eitho fo.
O, diolch yn fawr, de.
Rhaid o'ch edrych Ifor.
Diolch.
A diolch yn ysgwrtho fi Anwen.
Dim isio llongyfarch Ifor hefyd ar cael ei ethol yn is-gadeirydd cyngor Sir Conwy.
Diolch yn fawr.
O, diolch chi. O, llongyfarchiadau. Chi ddyn dod o'r blaen yn y byd, de.
Llongyfarchiadau.
Iawn, di pawb yn cyfieithu'n gweithio rwan? Can I gallu gyrru mlaen?
Catrin, da ni'n clywach di ar y sianel Cymraeg, de.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Iawn, mae'n iawn wan di. Jane, os eisiau siarad eto, mae'r llaw las I fyny. Oce, mae di mynd. Iawn. Reit, awn ni mlaen I...
See, how do I raise my hand on this?
Iawn, Jane?
Right. Yeah, I'm fine. I just don't know exactly where we are on the actual agenda. Sorry, because the translation was very poor. Just it was breaking up all the time.
Dyn ni di ar yr eitem rhif 6, penod aelodau I wasanaethu arbenniol I ymweld.
Diolch.
Okay.
So this report basically is coming about obviously with the new year. I don't believe that there's anything added to the recommendation. I don't believe that any members have actually asked to actually change area at all, so between north and south.
Jen,
hello?
Os gada di mewn, mae'r penderfyniad wedi cael ei wneud ar yr eitem yma. Felly, does dim angen cyflwyniad gen ti.
Yeah, huge apologies. As I say, I just did not have a clue where we were with the agenda, so apologies for that.
Mae'n iawn, da ni'n dallt, ond just rhag mae bod chdi just yn parhau I gyflwyniad. Da ni'n dod I benderfyniad.
Diolch.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr.
Diolch.
Awn ni mlaen, wan taia.
Iawn.
Tir ymwael Llechwedd Hafod Cwm Pen Machno. Richard sy'n gwybod hwn. Okay, Richard.
Diolch, Cadeirydd. This is an application for a Home Office emergency services mast to provide coverage down the Penmachno Valley through from Cwm Penmachno through to Cwm Penmachno. It's a very important development to provide emergency service coverage down there. At the moment, it is what's known as a not spot. There's no mobile coverage there at all. The mast will provide emergency services, the fire, police and ambulances with coverage, but it will also cover members of the public who'll be able to dial 999 from whatever network to provide access to the emergency services. What it won't do is provide ordinary mobile coverage, but that may come at a later stage. It's a very fine balance here between the impact of the mast and the public benefit that it will bring. Now, normally, I think we would say that this area would not be suitable for mobile phone coverage, say O2 or Vodafone. It's within the landscape character area where we wouldn't, so we'd have to be very, very careful with mobile masts of this nature. It's located within an NRW, a Natural Resources Wales forestry plantation, which is currently being harvested in blocks. Now, what I'll do, I'll just see if I can share my screen to go through the PowerPoint presentation with you. Just one moment while I let me just see which one I'm. Don't know if you are you able to see that, everybody?
No.
Yep. So just going through the slides. It's a 25-meter mattis mast with ancillary ground-based equipment compound, and it's if I just highlight where it is, if I can get my highlighter pen up. The location. This is Penmachno here, and the A5 to the top right of the screen. Penmachno here, and the Midnights, the very narrow road coming down from the Midnights here. Now the site is in around about that spot there. Now I don't know if members recall, we did have an earlier application for a similar mast, which was located in this sort of location. It's around about 450 meters away from that. We had significant local concerns about visual impact for that. The application was eventually withdrawn in favour of this spot here, which is further up the hill and further away from the residential properties. So if I show you the sites, it's 3 trees here will be extracted as part of this development, and it'll be located in this sort of area here. 25 meters. These are probably about 18 to 20 meters. So the top end of the mast will be, obviously it's got to be sticking above the line of the trees to provide the coverage. At the moment, I mean, this area doesn't make an awful lot of sense. It's tree cover, and looking in the opposite direction, Penmachno is in the distance and down in that direction. Views a little bit further down from where my car was. You can see, I mean, it's a lovely village, Penmachno, unspoilt and enjoyed by many people. There we are. There's the longer view, Penmachno, and it's there are scatters of terraces along the Penmachno road, and then the quarries in the distance. Looking further on, this is from Beniarth Terrace. Now the location is around about there. This is a block of larch that has already been cleared to prevent, I mean, it's all part of the larch dieback. It's been cleared, and these blocks will eventually all be cleared as part of the plantation. Going further down the Cwm towards Penmachno, this again, that's the area that's been cleared. The mast would appear in that sort of location. Further down into Penmachno itself, the location is around about here. And coming down from the Midnights, the narrow road, there's the cleared block. So the mast would appear in that sort of location there. And further down the Midnight Road, again, it's quite easy to spot. It would be in that location. At the moment, it's a pretty good site in that all we'd see possibly is the top end of the mast with a backdrop of trees. The base compound would be obscured by trees, but unfortunately, or fortunately, the trees are scheduled to be harvested in the not too distant future. And I'll just go. This is the management plan for the forest block. The site is in the crux of those two forest tracts there, which let me just move that over. This area is scheduled to be cleared. The sort of purple color is 2022 to 2026. Now, as a result of that, the mast will then become visible, but with a backdrop of trees. You'd be able to see the ground base and the full height of the 25-meter mast. And possibly more significant will be this yellow area that will be cleared, which is to be cleared between 2032 and 2036. And the significance of that, which utilizing wireframes, with the trees gone, the mast does then become visible above the skyline, full height, as well as the ground-based compound. And that's from Mynediad Terrace, which is on the east side, closest to Penmachno, and just moving down the valley towards Penmachno, it does become very prominent and above the skyline. And I mean, that's really what we are concerned about. I mean, it's a very fine balance between the public need, which is significant, that it is a hotspot, and providing the emergency services with coverage down there. There's the Penmachno cycle trails, there's the newly instigated slate trail as well as coverage for local community, local residents for emergency services. So it's a very fine balance between that public need, which we do recognise, and we've worked hard with the Home Office to provide this site. But we are taking somewhat of a precautionary approach to this development, that the public needs doesn't outweigh in the longer term the implications for the special qualities and the visual intrusion of the mast on the valley. So, I mean, what we are suggesting, which is what we suggested with the previous application, is a 10-year temporary permission. So these are the conditions that we are suggesting. Recommendation is to approve. So there's a 10-year temporary permission, which would give the opportunity for the Home Office to negotiate with Natural Resources Wales over the replanting, and it'll also enable us to monitor the regrowth in front of the proposed mast, and there is nothing wrong with them coming in 8 or 9 or 10 years' time with an application to renew their permission for a further temporary period, or even a permanent permission, depending on how the regrowth and replanting regimes progress. So that's the, let me just get, I'll take the show, the presentation away. We have had agreement with the Home Office to, this came in after the report was written, that they, and I'll read to you what they said, which was the Home Office recognised the concerns raised, but nonetheless asserts that the benefits of the proposed development significantly outweigh any potential harm. Further, that in establishing the network and then potentially removing it, this will in fact cause public harm in the future. And you know, I do acknowledge that, and I think we should acknowledge that, but we are giving them the opportunity to renew the permission after 10 years. However, notwithstanding the above, this is the Home Office carrying on, notwithstanding the above and the spirit of working collaboratively, the Home Office accepts that NRW concerns can be resolved by a written commitment to an agreement of time-limited content. Consequently, the Home Office reluctantly accepts the principle of a minimum 10-year temporary consent. They have, the Home Office, the applicants have submitted quite detailed landscape impact analysis, which does contradict somewhat with the conclusions of the NRW landscape officer, who is our contact in terms of landscape impact for these sorts of developments. The NRW have concluded that in the short term, the impact won't be significant, which is why we're able to recommend 10 years. But after 10 years, the impact will be significant and impact adversely on the special qualities of the national park. Local objections, we've had 14 letters from local residents raising similar sort of concerns, impact on the landscape, but also raising issues of health and adverse effect on the tourism industry. And we've also had letters of support for the emergency services coverage that it will provide. We've had no responses from the local community council, so I can't report their views to you, but the recommendation is to approve on the basis of a 10-year temporary permission, and we'll be able to engage with them within that 10 years to provide a longer period if it's deemed appropriate.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr, Richard. Mae'r siaradwr, a dwi'n ymddiheuro os dwi'n cael y cyfenw'n anghywir fan hyn, ond mi wna I drio. Y bonwr Paul Laptry. Dwi'n ymddiheuro os ydy hwnna'n iawn.
Na ni, ddoi o fod drwad I chi rwan.
Iawn, awr. Ar ran yr ymgeisydd mae o. Iawn, croeso, Mr. Laptry. Mae'r meic I ffwrdd gynnwch chi. Dych chi ar mute. OK, iawn.
Good morning. Sorry.
Diolch yn fawr. Iawn, carry on.
Os oes rhaid i'n esbonio, mae gennych chi 3 munud I siarad o.
Screen set up. I'm going to wait 1 second. Good morning. My name is Paul Lepatry, acting as agent for the Home Office. The Home Office leads the critical infrastructure programme for the new Emergency Services Network, or ESN, with primary customers including the police, fire and rescue and ambulance services. ESN will deliver a much improved and cost-effective voice and data service to the emergency services, replacing the outdated airwave system currently used, and will transform working capabilities for emergency service crews. The majority of ESN will be built by EE. However, for not spot areas like Cumpen Mapno with no coverage at all, the government will build additional ESN sites for coverage. It should be noted sites will also be made available for sharing with the UK mobile operators to provide commercial coverage should the operators wish to do so. The Home Office case for approval is fully set out in the planning application, but I will summarise the key points. First, the site is the optimum location, and alternative discounted options will not provide the necessary ESN coverage to the target area. We have also taken account of previous discussions with local stakeholders, which resulted in the agreed withdrawal of a previous application for a site some 450 metres to the south. Second, the proposed 25 metre lattice tower is the lowest height and least intrusive design available to provide the required coverage. Any smaller structure would lead to more than one site required and mass proliferation. Third, the proposed installation is carefully sited to minimise any potential impact on the landscape and the special qualities of the national park. And fourth, the potential impact from 2022 onwards, when trees will be removed, have been fully considered. While the Home Office does not agree with all NRW's conclusions, in mitigation, the Home Office reluctantly agrees to a 10-year permission, if so granted. The Home Office would also be willing to accept the other proposed conditions set out in the case officer's report. In conclusion, the Home Office believes the significant public benefits ESM will provide far outweigh any potential minor harm to the surrounding area. Further, without a site in this locality, there will be no emergency service provision at all in the area. We therefore respectfully ask for approval of the proposals in line with the recommendations and conditions contained in the officer's report. That's the end. Thank you for listening.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr iawn i chi. Mae dair llaw i hwnny, dyma cymryd Wyn i gychwyn, Ifar wedyn a Barian wedyn. Wyn i gychwyn, slwch chi dda. Wyn Jones.
Diolch yn fawr cadeirydd. Diolch i Richard am adroddiad. A dwi'n derbyn bod o'n gais hanodd, wrth gwrs, mae'r cydbwysedd rhwng gwarchod y tirwedd a gwarchod diogelwch yn cymunedau ni yn gallu bod yn hanodd yn yr achos yma. Dwi'n meddwl bod yr penderfyniad cywir ydy caniatáu y mast yma. Dwi'n meddwl bod y gwaith wedi cael ei wneud i drio lleihau yr impact gymaint â sy'n bosib. Dwi hefyd yn gefnogol i'r amseru'r 10 mlynedd o ran bod yn rhoi cyfle i'r ymgeiswyr a Cyfoeth Naturiol Cymru i wneud gwaith i drio atal unrhyw ddrwg i'r tirwedd wedyn. Hynny ydy, mae yna bosib, dwi'n meddwl, plannu coed a cnefu coed yn sensitif i drio lleihau'r impact i'r dyfodol. Felly, mi yswn i'n cynnig bod ni yn derbyn y cais fel yr argymhelliad.
Reit, mae Wyn di cynnig os o eilydd, slwch chi dda. John yn eilio. Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Reit, o'n i'n mlaen ysdi hefo'r siaradwyr Ifar. A hefyd, gai o chi, newch chi drio cofio tynnu'ch llaw las i ffwrdd ar ôl siarad os gwelwch chi dda. Ifar Lloyd, Ifar Glyn, Lloyd sy'n fanno, de. Ie. Iawn, Ifar.
Chi'n nghlwedi? Helo, chi'n nghlwedi? Da iawn, oce. Ie, mae hwn yn eitha naturiol i mi. Di gweithio yn yr ardal yma. Mae o'n lle andros anghysbell, a dydy'r cyfarthrebiad yn yr ardal ddim yn dda iawn. Rioed wedi bod. Ond beth sy'n pwysio hwn ymlaen i fi ydy y ffaith bod ne ddim ffordd o gysylltu i gwasanaethau argyfwng yn yr ardal. So, o dan y sail iechyd a diogelwch, sy'n hybu bod ni yn gefnogi hwn. Ond sy'n hoffi gweld rhannu mastiau yn y dyfodol, os yn bosib, gan cwmnïau cyfarthrebu eraill, os yn bosib. Dwi yn hoffi y dyrluniad bod o dan y gorwel, bod o'n eistedd yn nghanol coed i ddechrau fo. Dwi'n gwybod bod be maen nhw'n cael clear fell yn yr ardal, ond mae o dal di eistedd yn daclus o dan y gorwel yn y tirwedd. So, ia, does gen i ddim problem fel hwn, os ni'n hybu bawb gefnogio. Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch i fawr. Brian?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I I support the principle of the mast in the location and with conditions. I have some concerns over the way that the conditions are being presented in relation to it being 10 years. I want to find out really who is it that is managing the forestry, and whether there is any way that the condition could be strengthened. So rather than it be left rather open-ended at the moment to negotiation in the future and a further submission, whether the need to screen the mast in the future for the long-term benefit could be somehow built more strongly into the conditions. My concern is that this is dependent on a third party in achieving the ongoing screening. If that doesn't come about in the next few years, in 10 years' time, we're back to where we are now, with a valley potentially that hasn't got the necessary coverage, and the board in the future faced with the same dilemma that we have a mast which could be skylined. Things change, priorities change. So how can that be tied more closely in the conditions?
Iawn, diolch Brian. Richard, ti'n mynd i ateb?
These forest blocks are managed by NRW, and we've seen their management or their extraction regime, which I mean we've tried to negotiate, and it has to be said the Home Office have tried to negotiate with them to provide the screening. We haven't made an awful lot of progress on that, I'm afraid, to ensure that what happens after they've been cleared, and that is really to be discussed over the next 10 years as to how they are going to replant and how they are going to regenerate that area. It's been a little bit of an impasse, unfortunately, with the old Forest Enterprise arm of NRW to provide that regeneration and replanting regime beyond the clearance or the harvesting period. It's a very difficult one for us to pin down, I'm afraid.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr, Richard. John?
Ia, diolch yn fawr i chi. Ia, dwi yn cefnogi'r cais yma gyda'r argymhelliad, ac hefyd yn gobeithio, swn i yn gallu licio gofyn na, sy'n nhw'n gallu agor o i mastau eraill ar ôl y 6 mis cyntaf. Ac os oes unrhyw un arall, well gyda'i gweld un mast, a fo pawb yn rhaid dish ar fo, na lawer o'n y mastiau mewn llefydd. Felly gyda hwnna, dwi'n cefnogi'r cais.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr, John. Owain?
Diolch, Mr Cadeirydd. Un o bryderon y gwrthwynebwyr ydy bod nhw yn honni bod nhw wedi gweld hebog yn nythu yn y cylch yma. Dwi'n meddwl na, o'n i trio gweld be oedd y gair Cymraeg am gosog, a hebog y gair ddath i fyny. Mae'r aderyn yma'n eitha prin, ac o gofio bod Cyfoeth Naturiol meddwl torri'r coed yma, be di barn yr Cyfoeth Naturiol ar y pwynt hwnnw, ac os na oblygiadau o ran lliniaru effaith ar y nyth honedig yma, trwy amod yma hynny yw, yr un sy'n dod i meddwl i ydi o ran amseru pryd fydd y datblygiad yma'n digwydd, ond ella os o'n i'n licio cael bar mateb Richard ar y pwynt hwnnw.
Diolch Owain. Mae'r aderyn, mae'r gosog wedi warchod beth bynnag ynddo. Drwy ddeddf. Mae'n aderyn prin iawn, fel chi'n ei ddweud. Aderyn gyda llaw, oedd yr tywysogion Cymreig yn ei ddefnyddio hela ers talwm. Ufflon aderyn ffyrnig iawn. Richard, sydd wedi iawn yn ôl ar hwnna?
Well, as the evidence shown, the NRW haven't raised any ecological concerns. Neither has our authority ecologist. So I have to take their advice, and they've raised no concerns. There is a biodiversity enhancement plan being submitted with this application. The opportunities for biodiversity enhancement are pretty limited because of the clearance of the trees, but they are indicating, I mean, it's really just two measures, which is creating a log pile for ground-based animals and erecting some bird and bat boxes. Nothing specific, unfortunately, for the goshawk.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Ydy bosib chi dynnu sylw'r yn geisydd at hyn, felly? O twrn aderyn prin sy'n cael ei warchod. A bod y mas wedi fyny cyn yr adeg nythu nesaf, wrth gwrs, ynde? Cyn y Gwanwyn. Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Alwyn.
Of course.
Diolch yn fawr, Mr Cadeirydd, llongyfarchiadau gael eich ethol yn gadeirydd.
Diolch yn fawr.
Rwy'ch chi ddim fuan iawn, dwi'n siŵr. Ie, be'n eisiau dweud, chi dwch, mae'n anodd ydi, pethau na glorian rhwng beth sydd o fydd i'r gymuned a beth sydd ddim o fydd i'r gymuned. A mae hwn yn achos perffaith o hynny, yn gyrraedd perffaith o hynny. Cwestiwn sgyn i'n yna hyd yr caniatad, y 10 mlynedd yma. Ydy'r 10 mlynedd yma yn agor o drws i'r ymgeisydd wneud cais am drwydded ar ddiwedd y 10 mlynedd? Ta ydy'r amod sy'n cael ei osod gyda ni heddiw yma, pe ban ei dderbyn o, yn uwchlaw hynny, uwchlaw yn yw cais o'r fath.
Diolch Alwyn. Richard ydy'r ateb hwnna. Ydy'r rhaid i'r ymgeisydd neu cais arall?
Yeah, of course. I mean, in the past, it has been quite normal for us to give permission for mobile masts for ordinary O2 Vodafone masts for a period of 10 years. I mean, it has to be said, we don't necessarily do it now. The policy has changed, but in the past we have done that. And it's worked reasonably well. They come back in 10 years, and if the trees are still there, we can provide another 10 years or give it a permanent permission. But it does give us the opportunity to monitor it and to ensure that these masts don't become something that stands out starkly in the landscape. So it has been quite normal for us to provide a 10-year permissions. But I have to say, it's not, I mean, we don't now, we're not getting quite so many mobile masts, and the impacts haven't been quite so significant. The technology has moved on from when we first started getting mobile masts. But it's quite normal for us to have done that, and in this case, we feel that it is necessary. The impact isn't significant in the first 10 years, but it's that block behind the proposed mast which is more concerning, which is to be harvested beyond the 10-year to 16-year period. And it's that which we are more concerned about than the first 10 years. The impact won't be significant in the first 10 years.
Iawn, diolch Richard. Cyn?
Mae gen i rhywun abriad yn y maes o'r rili goedwigoedd a cyfoeth. O ran y gosog, fydd yr aderyn yn symud o gwmpas, felly be fydden nhw'n trio wneud, ydy'n sicr bod yna coedwig addas o gwmpas y blocs maen nhw'n tynnu lawr. Felly dyna pam mwy na thebyg da chi ddim wedi clywed dim byd benodol amdano fo. Fysa'n ofyn, mae yna thrydydd yn cynlluniau ail plannu neu atgywiro fel ardal goed tyfu na eto i cael ardaloedd special sy'n well i bywyd gwyllt, well i'r tirwedd. Ac yn sicr, os fysa chi'n gael y bobl iawn yn cyfyd naturiol, a dwi'n hapus iawn rhoi cyngor os di'n helpu, i ni gael ail blannu'r ardal o gwmpas yr mast yma, efo coed fwy naturiol i'r ardal yma yn lle'r coed conwydd masnachol. Fysa'n helpu'r bywyd gwyllt a hefyd i falle rhywbeth well yn tirwedd yn tymor hir. Yn sicr fysa chi eisiau rhywbeth fel yna fysa'n sy'n cuddio'r math a wneud peth yn well tymor hir yn lle jyst fod rhan o'r cynllun torri ail blannu naturiol arferol fe gan cyfoeth o'r ardal yna.
Iawn, diolch yn iawn, Tim. Phil?
I think, that's exactly what we're hoping is going to happen over the next 10 years, that we can negotiate, enter into negotiations with NRW and the Home Office to provide that sort of coverage. And the 10 years gives us that opportunity to get something planted in at the right time to provide that coverage, and then we may well be able to give it a permanent permission.
Iawn, diolch yn iawn. Phil Gapper.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations. Yeah, I'm in favour of this application on the grounds already stated by various speakers. I am a little disappointed with NRW. I would have thought a minor alteration to their logging regime might have been able to resolve this problem. They are a Welsh Government agency. They are subject to the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act. And I put this issue as a wellbeing issue with provision of emergency services. So perhaps NRW should be reminded of their duties in that aspect. That's all I've got to say on this, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Iawn, diolch yn iawn, Phil. Dwi'n gweld llaw neb arall i fyny. Dyma cyfle chi, os ydych chi eisiau rwan, neu dyn ni'n mynd i bleidlais. Iawn, mae Wyn yn cynnig bod ni'n caniatáu, mae John yn eilio pawb sydd o blaid.
Caniatáu am gyfnod o 10 mlynedd, de. Dyna dwi'n cynnig.
Ia. Pwysor gwyrdd, os rwch chi dda, pawb sy'n erbyn pwysor groes goch.
Mae di gario.
Rydyn ni, pawb o blaid hwnna. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Awn ni mlaen i'r nesaf, 7.2. Adeiladu anedd, tir ger y fynwent dinas Mawddwy. Hwn wedi bod o'n blaen ni o blaen. Sara, sy'n cymryd hwn, ia?
Ia, diolch Cadeirydd. Just rhannu fy sgrin os dwi'n gadael i fi. Di pawb yn gweld?
Sori, Darfu, Sara. Ga i just checio'n sydyn bod y cyfieithu'n gweithio rwan efo Paul. So if I can just check that the translation works with Paul now, please.
Me across fine for me.
Yes, that's much better, thank you.
Yes, brilliant.
Yeah, that seems fine.
Iawn, okay. Sara.
Iawn, diolch Cadeirydd. Dwi'n siŵr fod Roloda'n cofio'r cais yma o'r Pwyllgor blaenorol. Cais am anedd ar dir ger y fynwent yn ddinas Mawddwy. A dyma y lleoliad, argyrion y pentra. Penderfynir bryd hynny o hirio'r penderfyniad ar y cais i'r ymgeiswyr gael y cyfle i edrych i'r opsiwn o anedd menter wledig. Bu'r ymgeiswyr ddatgan yn y pwyllgor diwethaf nad oeddent eisiau'r cais gael ei ystyried yn anedd fforddiadwy ar gyfer anghenion lleol. Ers i mi esgwennu'n adroddiad, mae yna ddatganiad pellach wedi cael ei derbyn gan yr ymgeiswyr, a mae hwnna wedi cael ei rannu gyda aelodau'n gynharach yn y wsos yma. Yn y datganiad yma, tybu'r yr ymgeiswyr y basant yn gallu cydymffurfio a meini prawf anedd manserwledig, ond cysylltu â nifer o fanciau a broceri, nid oes morgais digonol ar gael iddynt i adeiladu y tŷ os oes cyfyngiad cynllunio arno fo. Felly mae'r cais i'w ystyried yn anedd i'w ystyried i chi ystyried fel anedd marchnad agored tu allan i ffin datblygu ac yn nherma cynllunio yng nghefn gwlad agored. Tra mae swyddogion yn cydymdeimlo ag achos yr ymgeiswyr i adeiladu tŷ yn eu cymuned, nid yw polisïau cynllun datblygu lleol na pholisïau cenedlaethol yn caniatáu adeiladu aneddiadau marchnad agored tu allan i ffin datblygu tai. Yn ogystal, nid oes problemau arian, mae yna dydy problemau ariannu aneddiadau menter wledig, dydy hyn wedi codi yn y gorffennol hefo ceisiadau blaenorol. Rhaid hefyd i mi nodi heb gyfyngiad ar yr eiddo, ni fysai gan yr awdurdod cynllunio unrhyw reolaeth dros feddiannaeth y tŷ yn y dyfodol. A felly dim sicrwydd y bysa'r tŷ ar gael i ynnau bobl lleol mewn angen tŷ neu i weithwyr anedd menterwledig heb gyfyngiad. Oherwydd hyn, mae'r gymhelliad swyddogion yr un fath ag yn y cais dwytha, yn yr pan nes i gyflwyno dwytha, i argylled ydy gwrthod y cais ar sail y rhesymau nodir yn yr adroddiad blaenorol, gan gynnwys rheswm ychwanegol mewn perthnasau am horodwydd ymgeiswydd i gytuno i gytundeb 106 i gyfyngu meddiannaeth yr anedd.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr.
Mr Cadeirydd, cyn i'r mater fynd yn agorad i'r drafodaeth, dwi'n sylwi bod y cynghorydd John Pugh ddim yn yr stafell aros. Wedyn dwi'n siŵr bod o'n gwrando ar beth sydd yr cyflwyniad, ond mae wedi datgan diddordeb, ydy'n bosib i roed yn y stafell aros, Rob.
Sori, mae hynna newydd i roed o mewn rwan.
Diolch yn fawr.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr i chi. Fel o Sara'n dweud, does yn problem o godi tŷ anedd o fan hyn. Ond mae o tu allan i'r ffin a sy'n rhaid i'r tŷ hynna fod yn dŷ efo amod fforddiadwy arno fo. Ar wan, sydd y gwelai mae'r ymgeisydd yn wrthwynebu sydd hynny, wedyn mae'n so tŷ marchad agored a dyma di'r cais tŷ marchad agored. Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Ydy James wedi fewn fan hyn? Dydy Jonathan Cowley ddim yma, mae Jane yma ar ei ran o. Ti eisiau siarad, Jane? Dim yn debyg bod hi'n clywed, ynddo?
Dim yn edrych felly, na di.
Mae wedi codi llaw am i siarad.
Ydy hi?
Jane, wyt ti ar mute? Wyt ti'n clywed ni?
Na, dydy'r llygu dim yn dweud bod hi'n deall beth yn Gymraeg, ynddo?
Gai ofyn cwestiwn cyffredinol, ydy pawb sydd yn derbyn y cyfieithiad a clywed y cyfieithydd, ydyn nhw'n clywed yn iawn wan?
Yes.
Mae Jane yn siarad a mae hi ar...
Felly mae'n edrych yn debyg, mae Jane...
Sorry, apologies. Yeah, I can hear it. Sorry. Are you asking me to raise any issues or concerns? Just in respect to this application, just reiterate what my colleague has basically stated. As far as I can remember, certainly since my time with the authority, so I started in 2007. I don't believe we haven't approved any open market dwellings outside the development boundary during that time. I'm not aware of any at all. And obviously it's something, it would go against local and national policy, and that's something that members must consider. Obviously, we empathise with the applicants in their situation, but we are dictated with national and local policy, and we just need to make that clear to everyone before you have a debate about it.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr, Jane. Reit. Os yw'n yn cynnig rhywbeth? Os yw'n gynigydd? Owain?
Cynnig yr argymelliad sy'n gyda'i, dwi'n gweld bod gynnon ni fawr o ddewis gan bod hwn yn mynd yn hollol groes i bolisi cenedlaethol a lleol. Mae gen i gyd ymdeimlad efo'r achos, ond dwi yn bach yn bryderus bod yr gwybodaeth ynglyn â'r yr achos menterwledig mae wedi dod yn hwyr iawn yn y dydd ac tegwch i'r swyddogion ddim wedi rhoi cyfle iddyn nhw i ystyried y cynnwys. Ac un o pethau sydd yn ymhoeni fi ydy bod nhw'n y broblem o methu cael morgeisi fforiadwy ar llaid. Mae hwn yn ail achos i mi yn ddiweddar lle mae ceisio codi morgais ar eiddo masnachol yn profi'n anodd iawn, a dwi'n meddwl oherwydd Covid ydy hyn. Yn y ddwy achos mae benthycwyr yn gofyn am blindal o bron iawn i 100% a mae hynny'n bryder mawr i fi i busnesau yn gefn gwlad, ac ella mae rhywbeth ella ddyle swyddogion edrych i mewn iddo fo sicrhau bod modd gweithredu polisi fel hyn. A mae'r un peth yn wir efo tai fforiadwy, dwi'n yn gwybod beth di'r sefyllfa o ran medru cael morgeisi, ond yn sicr mi oedd y nifer o benthycwyr oedd yn fod yn rhoi benthyciad ar dai fforiadwy yn ddigon prin fel oedd hi. Felly o ran polisi, cyn bod ni'n adolygu'r cynllun lleol, dwi'n awgrymu bod angen gwneud gwaith ymchwil pellach i hynny. Ond yn dod nôl i'r cais cynllunio penodol yma, dwi'n barod iawn i gynnig yr argymelliad.
Diolch Owain. Os y eilydd?
Hapus ail, ie.
Iawn, diolch yn iawn. Tim, eisiau siarad?
Just cytuno y be mae Owain di ddeud. Dwi'n teimlo dros y bobl, ond mae'n bwysig iawn bod ni'n cydymffurfio polisi yn yr achos yma. Mae'r president, os fysyn ni ddim, yn un dwi ddim eisiau meddwl amdan, a mae'n bwysig i ni aros tu mewn i'r policies ni ar hwnna.
Diolch yn iawn. Ifor?
Diolch Cadeirydd. Ie, dwi'n rhannu'r hyn un pryder a Owain a Tim yn y cais yma. Mae yna cwmnïau morgais allan sydd yn cynnig. Dwi wedi cael y sefyllfa yma 2 waith yng Nghonwy, a mae nhw allan jyst bydd y waith siopa. So mae o'n swydd nocio'r drysau, and dwi'n mynd i bod yn y sefyllfa yn yr adeg Covid yma, pan mae rwy'n wedi trio, ond cyn Covid, mi o'n un neu 2 cwmni oedd yn cynnig pres neu morgais i'r math yma o gais. So mae nhw allan yna. Diolch.
Iawn, diolch Ifor. Brian?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I support the proposition the recommendation that's been made to reject. On the question of finance, I have similar concerns that the availability is difficult, but certainly my brief researches since receiving the report would suggest that percentages available could be considerably higher than that reported, and I wonder how far the applicant has actually searched for the specialist companies that deal with that. So I'm happy to support the recommendation to reject, because it would be very wrong of us to break the policy which has been so firmly held and nationally guided on.
Iawn, diolch yn iawn. Edgar?
Dwi'n teimlo, mae'n rhaid ni fynd efo'r polisi, dwi'n meddwl, ond oedd Owain yn dweud yma efo'r menter gwledig, mae ddoth hwn i fyny i nhw fynd ar ei ôl yn y pwyllgor dwytha. Ac dwi'n methu dall sef nhw'n methu cael mortgage yn nhw hefyd. A dwi'n ni'n, os fysa fo yn help, dwi'n gwybod efo'r pres tai ha yma, dych chi'n sy'n gen i'n byd yn erbyn i ni reid menthyg neu mortgage lle. Ond beth sy'n ni o'n blaena, ydy beth sy'n ni o'n blaena, ac dwi'n meddwl na mynd efo'r argymelliad ydy yr unig beth fedrwn ni'n neud ydy gwir.
Iawn, diolch Edgar. Alwyn? Alwyn, sydd mae'r tawelydd arno gen ti. Fysa'r meic.
Dyna ni. Dwi'n gwybod Iwan, mae ddrwg yn yna, colli rheolaeth dros y peiriant yn ysig. Ie, gyda calon drom dwi'n hefyd yn ystyried y cais yma, Mr Cadeirydd. Ond chi be, mae'n codi nifer o gwestiynau am ffordd yn edrych ar sefyllfaoedd fel hyn. Ran y morgeisi enghraifft, mae'r hawl gan awdurdodau lleol reid morgeisi i bobl. Mae caniatad na gynnyn nhw i wneud o, ond dyn nhw'n cymryd diddordeb mewn gwneud hynny. Mi ddylan nhw'n wneud, a mi ddylan bod yn rhan o'r gyfundrefn cynllunio lle mae amod yn cael ei roed fel hyn, y dyla fod na ryw ddarpariaeth wedyn i gynnig yr arian fel morgais i ymgeiswyr. Peth arall ydy'r fforddiadwy yma de. O'n i'n meddwl bod tu fforddiadwy yn amodol ar maint yr datblygiad. Mae'n rhywbeth reit drefol yn hynny de. Yn yr achos yma, da ni sôn wel, mwy neu lai, mae'n di ffarm, mae'n ffarmwr. A mae anghenion ffarmwr yn gofyn am fwy o le na tu tair llofft, 2 stafell lawr grisiau lle. Dwi'n meddwl bod o'n rhywbeth arall ni edrych yna fo. Y llall ydy, mae wedi codi yn yr adroddiad yr swyddogion ac yn sylwada'r cyngor cymuned bod y Gymraeg yn bwysig yn hyn, ynddo. A dwi wedi bod yn hefru am hyn ers blynyddoedd, ydy'r Gymraeg fod yn rhan o'r rheolaeth cynllunio hefyd. A dydy o ddim yn safon digwydd. Ond ar ôl dweud hynny gyd, mae'n bwysig cadw hynny mewn ystyriaeth, o dan ystyriaeth, ond ar ôl dweud hynny gyd, fyddwch chi, does gan rwy'n ddim dewis yn yr achos yma agos. Os nad yw'r ymgeisydd o bodlon dod i gytundeb 106 ar amod lleol o fan hyn, yna, does gan ddim dewis ond gwrthod i fod yn gyson efo'r hyn da ni wedi gwneud ers dwi ar y parc yma, dros gyfnod o 12 mlynedd beth bynnag. Diolch yn fawr iawn i chi.
Iawn, diolch Alwyn. Wyn.
Diolch Cadeirydd. O'n i'n gweld yn yr adroddiad bod yna ar draws Cymru 380 rhywbeth o geisiadau wedi cael eu caniatáu hefo math yma o amod, ond o'na ddim gwybodaeth am faint oedd wedi cael ei cychwyn neu cyflhau. Os gyda ni fwy wybodaeth yn lleol, hynny o'r ceisiadau ni wedi ganiatáu hefo math yma dros y blynyddoedd. Os gyda ni dystiolaeth bod yna broblem wedyn i'w adeiladu nhw. Mae rhywun llawn cydymdeimlad efo'r ymgeiswyr wrth gwrs, ond hefyd dwi'n siŵr lle mae rôl y busnes hefyd tuag at cyfrannu at yr anedd sydd wedi dod o gefnogaeth i'r busnes. A dydy hynna ddim i weld yn dod drwodd yn ei cais nhw. A fel sydd wedi dweud, dwi'n meddwl yn yr achos yma bod gen i ddim dewis, mae rhaid ni wrthod anffodus, ond eto efo cydymdeimlad llawn.
Ydy Sarah sio ateb Wyn yn fan'na?
Ie, yn hyrma aneddiadau menter gwledig, does na ddim achos i fi ddelio fo nad oes gyda fi ddim fod achosion ynghydweithio i bod hyn wedi codi yn y gorffennol. Ella bod yna broblemau eraill o ran y meini prawf, ond dim gyda ariannu anedd menterwledig. Fel dwi'n deud yn fy adroddiad, doedd gan Llywodraeth Cymru ddim gwybodaeth pellach ar beth sydd wedi cael ei adeiladu a felly, ond o brofiad fi, a dydy hyn ddim wedi codi yn y gorffennol.
Iawn, diolch. Diolch yn fawr. Judith.
Diolch. Dwi'n cydnabod bod hyn yn anodd ofnadwy, ond ar yr un pryd, da ni'n gwynebu cyfnod digynsail. A fel ddedais i tro dwytha, mae prisio tai yn yr ardal yma wedi codi yn ofnadwy yn ddiweddar. A hynny oherwydd bod cynnydd sylweddol mewn pryniant o dai haf. Mae hyn yn golygu bod mwy a mwy o bobl leol yn methu prynu cartrefi yn eu cynefinoedd eu hunan. Mae'r anghyfiawndera yma yn dwysau. Ar y sail yna dwi'n cefnogi cais y bobl leol a hefyd dwi'n credu bod o'n drawiadol bod sylwada'r cyngor cymuned yn hirfaith ac yn sylweddol ac yn gefnogol. Diolch.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Judith. Dwi'n yn gael bod yn law arall i fyny. Oes, mae Jane eisiau siarad. Jane?
Sorry, I've been listening. Thank you, Chairman. I've just been listening to obviously sort of the debate just now. In respect to sort of the mortgage situation and the query in terms of being unable to get funding, just to advise members that I will refer this through to our policy section, who I believe are actually looking at this matter already. So just to make the members aware that I will bring this matter to the policy's attention. Thank you.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr.
Jyst deud yma, Elwyn.
A chroeso.
Os fysa Jane yn siarad efo James Hall yn ynghlonwy, fysa fo'n gallu pwyntio i'r cwmnïau sydd yn gallu wneud, cos mae'n ginsail yng Nghonwy. So dyna's far, hwnna sy'n llwybr cyfle yma i cael rhyw fath o datblygiad i'r cais yma. OK.
Iawn, diolch yn iawn. Dwi'n gael bod yn law arall. Felly, awn ni i bleidlais. Pawb sydd o blaid yr argymhelliad i wrthod, pwyso gwyrdd. Pawb sy'n erbyn yr argymhelliad i wrthod, pwyso coch.
Ar hyn o bryd, mae 8 i 2 ydy yr bleidlais ar hyn o bryd ar gyfer yn cadarnhau'r argymhelliad, felly, sef gwrthod.
Iawn, diolch yn iawn, mae hwnna wedi wrthod. Reit, o'n i mlaen. Rybuddion gorfodaeth.
Sori, stybio, Mr Cadeirydd. Fi checio, hapus i John ddod yn ôl i mewn o'n, dech?
O'n den. Ni'n gofio.
Dyna ni, mae John yn ôl.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Rybuddion gorfodaeth. Gwybodaeth yma hyn. Tudalen 43. 44. 45. 46. Cofiwch dweud os gwnnwch chi gwestiwn.
Ar rhif 46, tudalen 46.
Ddim y llaw las.
Sori, ie. O'n i ofn i chi fynd ymlaen, dyna fi oedd.
Ie, oce.
Dwi'n gadw yn ôl, si. Ia, ar 46, 13, mae hwn yn mynd ers Mai 19. A 16, mae hwn yn mynd ymlaen ers Mawrth 18. Dwi'n mynd deall pam bod yn cymryd cynghiriad, felly.
Ydy'r Alice, bod chi'n newydd fyd, ond fedrwch chi ateb hwn? Neu bod rwy'n arall o swyddogion, neu Jane, eisiau ateb? OK, Jane.
Hi, thank you, Chairman. In terms of the compliance side of things, obviously we've had a lot of issues with resources recently over the last sort of 18 months or so. Originally, just to remind members that originally we were actually a team of 3, and we ended up going down to just one member dealing with compliance issues. So in that time, obviously, that there has been a delay, and there's been a longer delay with some of the matters rather than others. Obviously the fact that we have got a new compliance officer, I'm hoping that we can turn this around, which I think I said in the last committee. But it is a work in progress. It is slow, and I can only apologise for that. But we are hoping to make ground on some of these very long outstanding matters as soon as possible.
Ie, Mr Cadeirydd, dwi'n dall be mae'r atab yn ddeud, ond mae yna un ar tudalen 50, mae hwnnw'n mynd yn ôl i 2016, pan oedd yn Covid. Ac dwi'n gwybod, ydyn ni'n gadael gormod o amser rhwng mynd i'r step nesaf hyd efo'r bobl yma.
Iawn, gai atgoffa pawb, mae unwaith ydych chi'n cael siarad a gofyn cwestiwn. Iawn. Diolch yn fawr. Owain.
Ia, ar y pwynt hwn, fi gododd o tro dwytha, dwi'n meddwl, o ran deall pa fath o gynnydd sy'n cael ei wneud o bwyllgor i bwyllgor. Yn awgrym i ydi bod yna golofn arall allan cael ei roi i'r adroddiad, fysa'n just yn rhoi diweddariad, fysa'n haws deall wedyn os yna newid wedi bod o'r pwyllgor cynt, ac efallai bod yn ffordd help i'r swyddogion hefyd gadw cawnt ar beth sydd yn digwydd. Felly, os ni'n diolchgar o gael gwybod beth di barn Jane ac Alice ar hynny. Lle.
Iawn, mae llaw Jane i fyny. Ti eisiau ateb, Jane?
Yeah, certainly it's obviously been a while now that we've had this type of report that comes to committee each time. And I've been actually speaking to Alice in respect to it. And I think it actually needs a radical sort of overhaul in terms of how we present cases to members. And in turn, it will probably assist us in terms of seeing what matters are being pursued more than others. So certainly absolutely take that on board, and I'll work with Alice to look at it, trying to get a better format where it'll be also easier for members to understand what is actually going on with each case.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Ifar.
Diolch Cadar. Yeah, just oedd o'n gwestiwn, cwestiwn cyffredinol, sori, ydy o ynglyn â sut mae rhywun yn gallu gwneud ei waith os nhw'n methu mynychu y llefydd oherwydd Covid. Sut ydych chi'n monitro rhywbeth o bell?
Cwestiwn i Jane? Ti ar mute, Jane?
Sorry. I mean, we're actually undertaking quite a few site visits. The problem that we come across is if we actually need to go inside any property, which at the moment I don't know whether Alice might correct me on this, we don't actually haven't had to require to do that. But in terms of actually going visiting, we've got actually a like a risk assessment that we do, whether it's a case that we can actually go and check without anybody having to be present. So sort of like a drive-by, as it were, when sort of at public locations. And then there's other cases there where obviously if we see there is an issue and we do need to actually go on the land, we obviously have to make contact with that person. And so it takes a little bit longer than usual, but there are ways and means of sort of pursuing the compliance issues, even with the fact of having COVID-19. I don't know if Alice wants to come in. I know she's been carrying on with doing visits, and I don't think we've had any sort of issues that have actually come to light during this last month or so.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr, Jane. Reit, oedden ni ar tudalen 48. Felly, tudalen 49. 50. A dyna ni. Cytundebau adran 106. Mae rhain gwybodaeth. Ryw gwestiwn gyda fi? Nad oes. Ceisiadau na phenderfynwyd arnynt ers 13 wythnos a mwy, tudalen 55. Hwna eto gwybodaeth. Os gyda fi'n gwestiwn? Ac 56, gyda. A 57?
Mae Brian wedi bod i law.
Brian, a wedyn Jane.
Yes, this isn't one that appears on page 56 at the moment, Chair, but it did previously, which was the Llanbedr bypass. And I'm wondering what the state of that application was, as we've not, it's dropped off here, but I can't remember the state of the play with it and where we're up to with it.
I'r ateb gan y swyddog fan hyn, gan ydi o ddim ar y rhaglen. Richard?
Yeah, I was the officer who dealt with that one. It has now been fully approved, Chairman and Brian. The decision notice has been issued and is now presumably progressing through to pre-commencement conditions that will come through eventually. And it's up to the applicant now to get the finance and get going with it.
Thank you, Chair.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr, Richard. 56 o hwnna de. 57. Jane eisiau siarad? Nag oes. Wedi giffo. Hester, beth i'n rhaid cefndir y gwybodaeth? Adroddiad monitro blynyddol. James, sy'n cymryd hwn, ia. Dech chi'n cofio mi ar y John Pugh gynnig, a mi ar yn gyd derbyn o, bod ni'n cael pob cais i fewn am y podia yma, i fewn i'r pwyllgor i'w drafod. Am flwyddyn oedd fe fod, ond mae'n blwyddyn go lew dros sylwan. Jane. Ti ar mute, Jane. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The actual annual monitoring report update, obviously Planning Policy Officer couldn't be available today for this, but it is basically just a report for information to advise that the annual monitoring reports that the Welsh Government would normally expect us to submit in October 2020, that they have requested because of obviously issues in terms of COVID-19 and resources, that they've stipulated that is now due to be submitted in October 2021. But obviously with the monitoring, it's an ongoing process, and there will be an interim monitoring report that will be presented to members in a working group at the beginning of next year. So it's just purely to provide members with an update of the current situation in terms of that submission to the Welsh Government.
Just croesawu hynny, os o'n i yn ymwybodol bod nhw oedi ar yr adroddiadau monitro yma. Ond mae o'n eitha pwysig bod ni yn cadw golwg ar lwyddiant yr cynllun a fel godwyd yn yr achos y tŷ yma yn Dinas Mawddwy, mae o'n ffordd i ni fesur i weld beth sy'n digwydd. Gai atgoffa chi hefyd bod ni yn dechrau broses o adolygu'r cynllun lleol ac i ni gytuno i wneud hynny ynghyd estyn yr normalrwydd newydd, felly edrych ymlaen i'r drafodaeth yna ar ddechrau'r flwyddyn. Diolch.
Diolch Owain. John?
Ie, on mute.
No?
Hang on, mute. Oce, diolch yn iawn. Ie, mae'r ers y Covid, wrth gwrs, dydyn ni ddim wedi newid dim o'r polisi, achos dwi'n gallu fod y polisi a dweud bod ni'n gorfod defnyddio cyfleusterau, rhannu cyfleusterau. Ond wrth gwrs, gyda'r Covid a broblemau rwan, mae'n anghyfreithlon i wneud hynny. Fedrith rwy'n ddim wneud hynny ar hyn o bryd. Mae rhaid i'r wynfod a cyfleusterau hunain. Ydy'n amser i ni wrach ail-edrych a newid rhyw chydig i'r rôl newydd fel efo'r Covid ag ati.
Cwestiwn i bwyd i hwnna, John?
Wel, i rhywun o'r swyddogion cynllunio.
Jane.
Jane, wrach gyfod hi a gyfod John sy'n yma.
Thank you, Chairman. Certainly, obviously, with the repercussions, obviously, of COVID-19, and also we've got the situation with Brexit looming as well, is that our policy are well aware of the issues in terms of the changes that might need to be proposed in the future. And certainly, I know that they're looking in respect to this, and it's something will be for the working group to discuss further at the beginning of the new year, when the interim monitoring report is presented at that working group.
Iawn, rwy'n arall o siarad, dwi'n yn gweld llaw neb yma chi. Iawn, pawb sy'n nodi'r cynnwys ac o blaid hynny, newch chi ddangos os gwelwch chi dda. Llaw werdd yn erbyn croes goch. Pawb o blaid, ydy'r gwelai fanna?
Dim ond ei gario.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Eitem 9.2, diweddariad ar adroddiad perfformiad blynyddol cynllunio. Jane, eto fan hyn, ia?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Perhaps maybe both these reports should have been amalgamated together with the annual monitoring report and the annual performance report. It's basically to provide members with information that the same situation applies with the annual performance report in that the Welsh Government have delayed the authority having to submit such a report for this October. And again, it will be now looking towards October 2021. However, obviously, in terms of performance, that we're still collating the relevant data for Welsh Government in terms of performance and the indicators that have been set. And these are reported in any event to members in their planning and resources, the Performance and Resources Committee. But this provides me with an opportunity, which I don't think I've actually had before, of just explaining to members exactly how the planning service has been working over these last few months with the COVID-19 situation. As you can appreciate, when we were aware that lockdown was due to come in March time, provided us with very little opportunity to change a service that was very heavily reliant on paper, a paperless service. We basically had about 2 to 3 weeks to achieve this. And I'd like to sort of make an announcement here in terms of this committee, just to thank the team for actually achieving what we did in those sort of 3 weeks when the initial lockdown came about. It wasn't an easy process. We're still struggling to some extent with some of the issues we've got. We found that when we went paperless, we're obviously all working remotely from home, that we found that applications did go down slightly, but not as much as we were expecting, which probably provided us with an opportunity sort of to sit back and have a look at some of the ways that we were working. But then it seems recently everything is, as everybody has sort of accepted the new normal, applications and our workload has drastically increased. And we are finding that the system we had in place, it does have its flaws, and we're working hard to basically improve on those. And I just want to make members aware that is what we are doing. We know that there is issues in terms of communication. The fact now that obviously officers are not sat in the office being able to just pick a phone up, we have to transfer phones and so forth. And obviously the whole system as well, with it being electronic, it can be a bit clunky now and again. But on a whole, I think the team is doing a brilliant job. We're succeeding, and applications are being dealt with and are being processed. So it was just really to bring members, the attention of that to the members, and that the last few months hasn't been easy, but hopefully we've achieved it, and we'll continue to improve on what we've got now. Thank you.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Sa rhywun eisiau siarad? Alwyn? Eisiau pwyso'r tawelydd, Alwyn?
Ymddiheiriadau, dim i fod. Diolch yn bach. Na ni, mae'n ddrwg gen i.
Iawn, dwi'n gweld bod yna neb eisiau siarad. Sa rhywun yn cynnig bod ni'n derbyn a nodi'r adroddiad? Os ydych chi...
Cynnig, Mr. Cadeirydd.
Hebwch y ffôn, me?
Ie, dwi wedi diffodd y ffôn. Dwi newydd gael text o mae'r brawd wedi cael y Covid. Awn ni mlaen. Edgar? Edgar, eisiau siarad? Mae eisiau pwyso'r tawelydd, Edgar.
Neud y cynnig o'n i, as o'ch chi'n gofyn.
OK. Brian? Brian, siarad?
I'll I'll second that and just want to add our thanks to the planning officers for working so well through the COVID to keep things moving in the way they have.
Okay, diolch yn fawr. Pawb sydd o blaid felly, pwyso'r gwyrdd. Pawb sydd erbyn pwyso'r coch. Ni, mae hwnna, pawb o blaid hwnna. Dyfylau. Iawn, o'n i mlaen i 9.3, polisi 29, llety gwylio amgen. Jane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I actually haven't got any additional information or anything to add in respect to this report, other than obviously we've worked with the new policy, Development Policy 29, for a good while now. The process seems to be running smoothly in terms of applications, and therefore just requesting that we revert back to the delegated powers in respect to these specific applications. Thank you.
Iawn, diolch Jen. Rhaid i ymddihiro nes i ddatgan rhyddian ar y polisi yma o'n i yn meddwl sôn. Bod y swyddogion wedi, ar gais John Pugh, dwi'n gwybod iawn, i alw'r podium i'r pwyllgor i benderfynu ar rwan. Mae'n amser gwahanol i pasio. Y swyddogion yn gofyn rwan, a mi ddyn nhw'n gwybod gael benderfynu arno fo i gael hyrwyddo achos pob un sy'n. Rwy'n eisiau cynnig rhywbeth? Owain?
Ia, cynnig yr argymelliad, Mr Cadeirydd. Dwi'n meddwl os gyn rhai aelodau rhyw bryder ac bod gynnu nhw resymau cynllunio dilys, fedrwn nhw rhai cais i'r cyfarwyddwr i ddod â fo trwy'r cynllun dirprwyo. Dwi'n meddwl fysa hynny yn diogelu unrhyw bryder sgyn aelodau unigol. Neu fel arall, dwi'n meddwl drin y ceisiadau yma fel da ni'n trin bob cais arall. Diolch.
Ydych dehongliad chi o'r gair dilys swyn? Owain. Dilys yn hyrfa cynllunio?
Ia. O'n i'n meddwl bod wedi dweud cynllunio ni feddwl, ia. Mae o'n dweud yn y cynllun dirprwyo.
Diolch yn fawr. Wyn?
Diolch Cadeirydd, jyst eisiau eilio cynnig Owain. Mae gennau, fel mae'n digwydd gyda achos ar hyn o bryd sydd wedi gorfod cael ei oedi ar gyfnod sy'n eitha hanodd i'r ymgeisydd achos maen nhw eisiau dechrau'r gwaith cyn y gia, ond maen nhw'n gorfod oedi'r cais tan mi fydden nhw wedi gorfod oedi'r cais tan y pwyllgor nesaf sydd wrth gwrs yn golygu bydden nhw i ganol y gia cyn bydden nhw'n gallu dechrau ar y gwaith. Felly, dwi'n meddwl bod ni a'r swyddogion yn dall yn gilydd erbyn hwn, dwi'n dall ac yn cefnogi pam nath hyn digwydd yn lle cyntaf. Mae nhw'n beth eitha newydd, ond dwi'n meddwl bod ni'n dall yn gilydd erbyn hyn ac dwi'n hapus iawn i bod ni'n datganoli'r ceisiadau'r math yma i'r swyddogion.
Iawn, diolch Wyn. Brian?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think we are at a stage where we should be delegating, but I would have preferred to have done it after we'd had the assessment by officers to consider before we made the vote.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Dwi'n mwyn gael llaw arall i fyny. Yndi, mae llaw John i fyny rwan.
Ie. Yndi, diolch o'r ran o mwyn. Yndi, gos gyda ni ddim problem iddo fo fynd nôl fan delegative power. Gyfelly o'n i'n cael dod o'n fo mlaen, peth ys yna angen. Sy'n ma dim ond 5 sydd wedi dod o blaen ni, achos oedden ni'n pryderu'n cychwyn, fysa ne ormod yn dod, a fysa pawb yn gwneud nhw. Yn amlwg, oedden ni'n anghywir o fanna, a dydy'r risg i mi weld yn uchel iawn fod ni'n mynd i cael gormod ohono nhw. Felly, sy'n ma dim ond 5 sydd ni wedi cael.
Iawn, diolch yn iawn, John. Nawn ni yr ymlaen felly pawb sydd o blaid, pwyso'r gwyrdd, pawb sy'n erbyn, pwyso'r coch, os gwelwch chi dda. Dwi'n gweld bod y neb yn erbyn y fanna. Hwnnw wedi'w cario. Diolch yn fawr. Nawn ni ymlaen. Efo'r penderfyniadau dirprwyedig gwybodaeth. Mae gwestiwn Gerwin neu sylw ar dudalen 69. 70. 71. 72. Alwyn Griffith.
Diolch yn fawr, Mr Cadeirydd. Nôl i 69, mae'n iawn, yn y methu cyrraedd llaw las yn bryd. Rhif 5 ar y rhestr, di ddymu cytundeb adran 106 yn y bwthyn golan Garndol Benmaen. Be di'r amgylchiadau yna? Pam bod y diddymiad wedi dod i rym?
I'll answer that one, Chairman. When we're dealing with these removal of Section 106 agreements, we do make an assessment as to whether the it is performing any real benefit to the community. On this occasion, the value of the property, a Bwthyn, was regarded as being outside, even with the agreement, was still outside local affordability. So it really wasn't performing any useful benefits. So on this occasion, we acceded to the request to remove the 106 agreement.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Ifar?
Tudalen 70.
Iawn.
Yr emyn 12.
Ga i just ddod yn ôl ar hwnna, sori.
Pwy?
Owain, dwi eisiau dod yn ôl ar sylw Richard o'n i.
Ie, gwan.
Iawn.
Sori, Ifar. Ia, dwi'n meddwl hefyd, jyst i ychwanegu at ateb Richard, mi oedd hwn yn hen fath o gytundeb 106 oedd yn cyfyngu o dan yr amod person lleol, ac mae yna sawl achos wedi mynd i'r arolygydd sydd wedi gwrthod rhain, os dwi'n cofio'n iawn, gan gynnwys rhai o'r durdod yma ei hun.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Ifar?
Ie, tudalen 70, rhif 12, codi estyniad un llawr yn ochr gosod dwm ar ffenestr yn Drwchefn. Tan y clogwyn Dowydd Alan. Mae'n dweud bod o'n cael ei penderfynu, diolch yn dweud pryd a diolch yn rhoi pa swyddog chwaith. Os o'r reswm?
Jane?
Thank you, Chairman. Is that number 12? Yeah, Tan y Clogwyn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got down on my records that it was the 17th of July 2020, and it was Richards that dealt with the application.
Do you know ateb, Ifar?
Oh. Yeah, it's just blankety blank on there, that's all.
Yeah. Okay, diolch yn fawr. Awn ni ymlaen i dalen 71. 72. 73. 74. A dyna ni fanna, wedyn dyn ni'n dod i'r ceisiadau wedi'w gwrthod. Mae'r hynna gwybodaeth, tudalen 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80 a 81. Iawn, dwi'n gweld bod yna law i fyny. Dyn penderfyniadau yr apel fan hyn, yna ddwy apel wedi'w hennus yn fanna. Sgyn ryw sylw gen rywun yn fan hyn ar hynna? Ar gwybodaeth. Os nad oes, ga i ddiolch yn fawr iawn i chi, a dyna ni,
Mae'n ddrwg gen i, Mr Cadeirydd, mae'n dweud cyflwyno adroddiad llafar ar yr eitem yma.
Dwi wedi gofyn sy'n rhywun eisiau dweud rhywbeth, a dwi'n wedi cael yn byd.
Wel, fyswn i'n disgwyl adroddiad llafar gen swyddog y gyntaf.
Ie. Ydyn eisiau dweud beth? Jonathan oedd y prif swyddog yn fan hyn, hwnna gyntaf. Os dwi'n cyfeirio'n iawn...
Mae'n Jerry wedi llaw i fyny. eisiau dweud rhywbeth yn ymwneud.
Jane, okay, iawn.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Obviously, the appeal decisions are for information for the members. Obviously, the fact that the appeals were both dismissed, obviously, it is a good decision for officers, and it goes obviously with our recommendation. So nothing further to add in respect to that.
Ia, os dwi'n cofio'n iawn, yn llan gwer oedd y swyddogion eisiau cael ei tai hwn i gychwyn. Mi gathon ni weld safle, roedd Brian yno, Elfed a Ddinas, dwi'n cofio'n iawn. A ger ni benderfynu yn gros i swyddogion, oedd hwn yn cael gwlad agored. A mi gath ei wrthod yn y pwyllgor dilynol. Ydy oedd yn di apel am wedi colli wrth gwrs. Owain, sy'n yn ôl?
Ie, just un sylw bach i dynnu sylw aelodau at rhyw datblygiad gymharol ddiweddar yn hyb i, ond mi welwch chi bod y cais yr apel wedi rhannol wrthod a'r rhannol ganiatáu, a just tynnu sylw, dwi'n yn siŵr ydy'r awdurdod yma wedi bod yn defnyddio y teclyn yna weithiau lle da ni ella'n cytuno fo'r rhanna o'r cais ac yn gwrthod llall. Sicr, mi oedd hwnna newydd i fi pan nes i benderfyniad gyn Cyngor Gwynedd ar gais cynllunio, ac ella just sy'n ddiddorol cael i'r aelodau cael gwybod faint o ddefnydd o hynny sy'n cael ei wneud gyn yr awdurdod yma ac hefyd o ran yr arolygydd.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Dech chi sôn am rhyw goch bach yn Harlech ydych ar benderfyniad cyntaf sydd gyda ni. Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Da ni wedi gorffen i gyd, wan. Rhaid sy'n dweud yn byd iddo gwelau. Ga i ddiolch yn fawr i bawb.